LinkedIn is a powerful networking tool. In this recording of my recent webinar, The Power of the LinkedIn Network, you'll discover just how powerful it is, including a couple of new features that help you really connect and build influence, or what I like to call Connectfluence. Thanks for attending today's webinar, which is all about LinkedIn and the superpower of the LinkedIn network. So I'm going to go through how the LinkedIn network works, because if you understand this, and you understand why it's important to use LinkedIn and why it's important to build a network consistently. And as I said, ask any questions along the way. And if you're catching the recording, feel free to message me with anything that you want to know, or ask wherever you spot this. So for those who don't know me, I'm Jo Saunders, known as LinkedIn Demystifier. I've been doing this for over the last decade, getting deeper and deeper into LinkedIn because I'm a pretty curious person. And I love discovering some of the new features. And even just this week, there's been some new features rolled out. I was training a client yesterday and I discovered a new search feature, which I'll highlight today. So you're going to hear this first before I've even dropped my video, which is going out shortly. Like I said, I'm always excited about new features. So you might have heard this sort of framing about your network is your net worth or influences your net worth. And what I mean by that in terms of LinkedIn is, really, if you're not networking or you're not building a network, then you're not having the opportunity to increase your revenue, increase your income, increase your opportunities. Whether you're in the job market, whether you're a consultant, a coach, you run a business, whatever that looks like, LinkedIn can impact that. It's a great business tool to be using. So in this webinar, the sort of topic of the agenda is really about the superpower of LinkedIn, how it works. I'll just go through the 3 degrees. So it's no longer 6 degrees, it's 3 degrees of separation. The power of being strategic in your network, thinking about who's missing and how to engage with your network. So I always start here, whatever I'm talking about, because LinkedIn, it comes down to purpose. Why are you using it? You might be using it as a research tool. You might be using it to build your reputation, to build rapport, to recruit, or to find a role yourself. And at the top of the sort of reasoning, revenue, which is the income, the salary, the opportunities, whatever that looks like. But it starts with having an optimized profile, which I go through in different sessions. But if you've got an optimized profile, but you don't have a network, then you're kind of missing opportunities to do all of these things. Now, to those who are just joining live, welcome. We're just kicking off, so you haven't missed very much. Just framing what we're talking about today. And for those watching the recording, like I said, any questions, ask afterwards. And if you're here live, feel free to put your questions into the chat. And also let us know who you are and where you're from, because, while this session's about the LinkedIn network, if you're here live, why not network? So feel free to put your LinkedIn profiles into the chat so we can all meet each other and tell us what you do and that sort of thing. And if you've done like Camille, she's put what she does on her Zoom name. Very clever, Camille. So feel free to change your name like I've done and Camille has done too. So LinkedIn's a powerful tool to network. Now, it's the largest gathering of professionals anywhere. It's 830 million members around the world and growing. It was 810 back in February. They release every 3 months, they update, and it's got that constant growth. So it's still got places to grow, and they're predicting it's going to hit 1 billion, in the next 12 months. So that's pretty exciting. It's not going anywhere. It's just, and I love the way it's evolving. It's frustrating. Don't get me wrong. There are frustrating things about LinkedIn, particularly when they remove powerful features, such as Nearby. Nearby was a really powerful networking feature for in-person. Hopefully that's coming back. So LinkedIn's got a lot, it's a great place to find people, to find opportunities, to find content as well. But think about right now, what are you doing with LinkedIn? Are you using it to research? Are you using it to find and connect to the right people? Are you engaging in the feed or via direct messaging? And are you adding value? Because those things allow you to be seen, to be more visible, and to be more credible. Now, I know a lot of people will struggle with LinkedIn. It's either time, skill, strategy, or accountability. Or the other one, which I didn't include, but I want to acknowledge it, is, the interest in LinkedIn. I know some people find it quite boring. It can be a fun platform. I mean, it's not Facebook, and it's not Twitter. It's not a place to rant. It's not a place to share, what you're doing in your world right now in terms of your social world, but it's a place to connect and communicate. And the thing with putting time to it, it's about working out what you want to do, which is why strategy is important. If you understand your purpose and for LinkedIn, then you create the strategy, then you sort of work out how much time is that going to take, what skill do you need, and how are you going to stay accountable, which is where I come in with my bossy boots and keeping people accountable and on track. So with LinkedIn, as I said, it's about strategy and it's working out where you are right now. So this is the model I've created. So think about right now where you are on this sort of grid. So if you're at the bottom here, you might be, now the result here is from LinkedIn. So you might be known in your field, but from a LinkedIn perspective, you might be unknown, as in people just are not connecting with you, not engaging with you. And it's possibly because you're not using it. Your presence doesn't really exist. You're inactive and you're absent in terms of content. If you're starting to be found, you might have, some sort of spontaneous content here and there, bit of a lurker, as in you're consuming content, but never participating. And your profile's a bit of a resume. Now, to be a trusted source, you want to be curating content, reacting to what's happening in front of you. And I'll talk a bit about that, and have a profile that's branded. But if you want to be the preferred option, then, creating your own content is going to get you there, being proactive with your network and having an optimized and a branded profile. But really, if you want to be that sought after leader in your space, which is, where the highest influence is, it's about sharing, not just creating content, but having your content shared by other people, leveraging your network and having an energized, branded, optimized presence. Now, this session is, like I said, about networking, but I always like to include this just to kind of frame you up for where you are right now. So these 3 pillars are important for LinkedIn. Your positioning, your network, and your content, and the 3 of them work well together. So this session's pretty much about the center pillar, the network. So I'd love to know right now, and put this into the chat, how you're currently using LinkedIn to network. So are you a non-user? So you're not using it at all. It's just not thought of. Are you a lurker? Now, lurker's not a stalker. A lurker is someone who tunes into LinkedIn, could be on a daily basis, and you're just consuming content. So you're staying up to date. You're using it to stay up to date with your field, your industry, maybe your peers, but you're not necessarily doing anything. Are you a hands-off automator, which is someone who sees the value of LinkedIn, has given it to somebody else to take care of for them? It could be a sort of automation tool or a VA or an assistant, someone who's not you. Are you an active reactor? So an active reactor is someone who is in LinkedIn and being led by LinkedIn. So, you're responding to messages, you're getting notifications, you're getting connection requests, and you're responding to those. Or are you a proactive participant? So this is someone who is not just accepting connection requests, but actually going in and strategically finding the right people. So if you want to work with a certain type of people, you're going and finding them and you're engaging with them. So that's what I call a proactive participant. So, wrong way. Put in the chat and let me know where you're at. So we've got a few lurkers, and that's okay. And well done for admitting there's nothing wrong with lurking. It's actually a good activity to do, because if you don't lurk, you don't sort of keep up to date with your industry. Because if all you're doing is reacting and you're not consuming, you're not sort of doing part of it. And if you're automating it all, you're not there. So yeah. So Joe's aiming to be a proactive participant. A few lurkers, and a few proactive participants, which is awesome to see. I love that. Excellent. All right, good stuff. So just think about where you are now, but where you'd like to be. And that will tie into your purpose for LinkedIn. So thanks for participating. So the LinkedIn network, I'll just go through how it works, and then I'll sort of reiterate it bits. Now, you might have noticed when you're looking at people's profiles, they've got a number next to their name. It'll either say first, second, or third. Now, that's not, how nice they are or, anything like that. It's purely their relationship to you. And it's contextual to you only. So my view of LinkedIn is going to be very different to Camille's view of LinkedIn, to Gina's view of LinkedIn. So if I'm looking at in my own home feed, or I've done a search and I've got a list of people in my search, that number is in relationship to me. So if I'm connected to somebody, they've got a first next to them. So I'm connected to Camille. Camille's got first. Now, if Camille is connected to Joe, the other Joe that's in the here live, and I'm not connected to Joe, Camille will have first looking at Joe. I'll have second when I look at Joe's profile. Now, if Joe's connected to Gina, and neither of us are, so when Joe looks at Gina, it's obviously going to be first. When Camille looks at Gina, it's going to say second. And when I look at you, Gina, it's going to say third. So it's all contextual to you, and it's going to change depending on, who's looking and how many degrees away you are from the person. Now, anybody who is beyond 3 degrees away, you can't see. They're invisible on LinkedIn. It will say LinkedIn member. So the more people you have at the first level, the more people you've got access to at the third level. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's really the superpower of LinkedIn, because if you really understand that, you'll understand why it's important to grow your network. Because if you keep your network quite tight and small, then you're keeping yourself small, because you're not going to be discovered by other people. And a couple of years ago, I was working with a client, and he was very proud to say he'd had coffee with all his connections, which was great because he had a very trusted, tight network. But what he was doing is restricting his reach, because what I just explained, think of that in reverse. Because if people aren't connected to you within those 3 degrees, they can't find you. They can't see you. So, it comes down to having a strategy so that you are found by the right people. So you want to think about, who are these people? Who do you want to connect to? Who's important to you? Who are the influences of the people that you want to know? Now, with LinkedIn, as I said, you can be proactive or reactive. Now, being reactive is important because you want to react to what's being presented in front of you. But if you're just reactive, it's being restrictive. So what do I mean by reactive? So reactive is, like I said, responding to things. So at the top, this is from desktop, obviously, you've got My Network. If you click onto that, and you'll get emails and notifications that people are connecting to you. So you've got a list of connections, requests, and you can either hit accept or ignore. So if I was to go through and just accept all these people that have sent me connection requests at that particular time, that's me reacting. But I tend not to do that, because when you accept from this window here, of this view, you're not leaving a footprint behind. You're not doing your research as well. So so Karen has sent me a connection request. If I hit accept, I'm not showing interest in her, which is not networking. It's kind of like she's given me a business card. I've said thanks and I've walked off. But when we're having a conversation in person, the person might hand me a business card or during a conversation. But then I'll lean in and ask a question. I want to know more. So on LinkedIn, I would click on the person's profile, actually take the time to look at their profile and work out who are they. Because one thing that this area doesn't tell you is where are they, where is their location? I can see who they are based on their headline, but there's not much else. There's not much context. So I want to look through quickly, have a glance at who they are. And then I would accept. And as I said, when you look at someone's profile, they know you've looked at them, unless you're in anonymous mode, which has its place. But it's important to do that because that's networking in itself. So that's taking your being reactive, but being reactive with a bit more power and a bit more purpose. So then we move on to being proactive. Now, being proactive is searching out for the right people. So as I said, who's missing from your network right now? So you might go into the My Network area just up here, and you can click on connections. And when you go into your connections, you can have a look at who's there. Now, you can use the search area and use a filter of first level connections and look for, how many people you have in a particular field. Like if you're working with coaches or you're working with plumbers, you can do a search and hit first and see who in your network is a plumber. Maybe you'll find that, like if that's your niche, you might find you've only got 2 plumbers in your network. Well, now you need to find more of them. And this is where being proactive comes in. So it comes down to finding those people. So think about, who are the types of people that you should connect to? So if you're in business, you might think clients, absolutely. Potential clients, those leads that you want to build a relationship with. If you're in a job, like in a role and you're doing networking as part of your role, then you might be thinking about the clients of the organization. But there's other people that you could connect to too. So there's current clients. past clients, future clients, prospects. If you're in a recruitment space, you might be in a growth stage. So you might decide to connect to recruiters, team members. So if you're working as a team, now if you're running your own business and you're, even if it's a business of one, think about who else do you know? Who else do you collaborate with? So that, who is in that team, that sort of power team? Leaders in your field. So people who are doing what you do, that, are publishing books, speaking globally, those thought leaders. People that you meet at events. So if you're going to conferences or networking events, those are great people potentially to know, particularly people who are really well connected. Trainers and guest speakers at these events, people whose book you've read, decision makers in organizations, people who you see as mentors or mentees, board members or committee members if you're volunteering, suppliers, peers. There's lots of different types of people. Even friends, or, if you've got kids, parents at your kids' school, because you never know who, maybe what they do as a career, particularly if you've got high school kids, because you're not allowed in the school in that environment, but you just never know who they may be connected to, because if your market's geographically located. So have a think about, who's the potential for you. And I've got here influences of, because if you understand those 3 degrees, it's about who they know. It's not necessarily about the person. Now I'm going to use a concept from BNI. I'm not a BNI member at the moment, but one of the things I like about their philosophy is you're sort of promoting yourself not to the room, but through the room. And LinkedIn's the same, because it's not about me being connected to Joe or Camille. It's about, who does Camille and Joe know that I need to know, that needs to know me? So I would recommend connecting to anybody who's an influence of these people, who is already connected to them. And you can see that on their profile. Sometimes you can see who you've got in common. So when you do a search on LinkedIn, sometimes using the second as a filter, it's going to bring up a list of people where you've already got a connection in common. So, you can use that as a I guess, a rapport building, particularly if that person knows the person. So on LinkedIn, I'm just checking questions. So would you be transparent about that? Do you mean with the person? I'm assuming you mean the person in common. Yeah, I mean, because you can see it. I mean, that's a reason to sort of connect. Well, not a reason to connect, but it's part of that conversation. Because when you connect, it's good to have a conversation with them and say why you want to connect. And don't be about them. Don't be about yourself. You don't connect because you want to sell to them. Connect because you want to serve them, but be curious in that process. I'm just checking the question here. Like a lot of coaches connect with you without knowing you. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure you've all been victim to these connection requests where someone connects, you have no idea who they are. You don't know why they want to connect because they haven't told you, they haven't introduced themselves. And you might be curious and think, oh yeah, sure, I'll accept you. And then often the first thing they do is hit you with that sales message. Hi, I'm the number one, blah, 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 buy my stuff. No one wants that. It just doesn't work. So they might be connecting to you because they want to access your network. It could be that. So I guess you have to be discerning when you're accepting connection requests, which is the reacting part. But if you have some criteria about who you want in your network, of these types of people on screen here, think about, that person might be able to introduce you to those people, not directly, but indirectly through the network, because it opens up your network to 2 and 3 degrees away. So there may be someone that is not an ideal client for you. They might even do what you do, but you're using them to kind of access other people in a nice way. But if as a result, they start trying to promote you, then yeah, as Camille says, hit them with a sales message and give it a crack. I mean, who knows? It might actually be an awesome way to start a relationship because they might be doing the best that they think they can do based on what other people do. A lot of people just mimic other people. So they see other people sending sales messages, those direct sales messages on LinkedIn. So they do the same thing, thinking that's how you do LinkedIn. They also may have outsourced their LinkedIn to a virtual assistant or somebody else. So you don't actually know if it's them. So, don't necessarily make an assumption that they've hit you up with a sales message too quick. Or the other one you get is they don't send you a message of introduction. They've just sent you a blank connection request. So don't necessarily judge, because it may just be that that unknown or doing what other people do. Yeah. So just, think about beyond that person. Yeah. Yeah. So I like the idea of knowing my gap first, then to then be making those connections. Yes, it's about understanding, like I said, what the relationship is, and align connections. Exactly. Now, you might be also thinking about competition. If your competitors connect to you, what do you do? If you're a coach and another coach connects to you, well, it depends on who that. It depends on the relationship. I mean, if you're a copywriter or a content producer, or you're a plumber, and another plumber connects to you, well, I love to connect to other LinkedIn experts. Firstly, I can learn from them, because there are some awesome people around the world. But also, if you think about your clients, your clients will choose you because of many different things. But some people won't choose you because you're not for them, and that's okay. So I think having other people in your network that can help your clients is a good thing, because if I'm too busy, or if I'm not a fit for that person, I've got people in my network I can refer. But when you interact with your competitors, other people will see you. First, it shows a lot about your values. So if you've got that abundance mentality, which I like to have, then I'm elevating the brand together, and I engage with other people who are my competitors, who I respect and admire. So I'm actually sharing good practice. That was a bit off topic, but good questions there. And I feel they're the kind we need to connect with, to support each other, to serve our tribe. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, coaching, a good example. So coaching is a very personal thing. It's all about you. So a person's got to build a relationship with you. So connecting to other coaches is not a bad thing, because you can promote each other and support each other, but you're actually supporting the concept of coaching as well, by interacting with other people that do what you do. Now, with LinkedIn, there are two kind of relationships. There's connections and there's followers. Now, just a side note, it's raining here at the moment. I'm not sure if it's picking up on the microphone, because I've got a tin roof, and hopefully the internet will stay stable. So if I disappear suddenly, the rain's got me. So connections versus followers. Now, connections are people that either connect to you or you've connected to them. They have a first next to their name. And it's a two-way relationship. So what it means is, you, as a default, you're following each other, as in you're subscribed to each other's content. So you might see them in your home feed, they might see you in theirs. You can message each other, you can invite each other to events, you can invite them to follow your company page, all those sorts of things. So it's the best, I guess, the best relationship on LinkedIn, because it's a two-way relationship. Now, followers are a one-way relationship. So if you're following someone, you're subscribed to them, but they're not subscribed to you. So you might see them in your feed, but they won't see your content. But by following someone, you can't send them a private message in general, unless they've got premium and they've got a particular feature turned on. You can't invite them to your event. You can't invite them to follow your company page. Now, you might be thinking, well, why would I want to follow someone then? Following sometimes useful for people that you don't know well. So sometimes I might follow someone who's a leader in the space, or an influencer. And some people are actually designated with LinkedIn influencer. It's actually a thing within LinkedIn, like Richard Branson, for instance. He's of that level. Because LinkedIn, in terms of the connection process, there's a limit to how many connections you can actually have. And there's a limit to how many people you can ask as well. So it just stops you building this massive, massive network, because you don't really want a huge network, because that's really difficult to manage. So the maximum number of connections you can have is 30,000, which is a lot. And you don't want to have that many, because as soon as you get to that level, you're full, and then you can't accept any of those ideal clients. So you want to keep it at a manageable level. Now, my connections, I've got, I'll just go back to here. So you'll see there's about 8,000 connections, which is still a lot. In the earlier days, I was saying yes to a lot more people. And, I say yes to people that I think I can help, or I think I can learn from, or, there's different reasons. But I've got about 27,000 followers. So going back to the followers versus connections. Now, there's a thing called creator mode that was rolled out. Now, creator mode, one of the features of that is to turn the connect button to follow. So it puts that sort of barrier in front of your audience. Now, if you're just starting out with LinkedIn, with starting to use it as a networking tool, and you're not sharing a lot of content yet, don't turn on creator mode. Like, it's way too early, and it's going to put that blockage in front of people. But if you get to a point where you've built a really strong network and you've got lots of people who are your ideal clients, and you're wanting to be seen as a creator of content, as a bit of a thought leader, then turn it on. Particularly if you want to use some of the additional features like LinkedIn Live, and you want to publish regular newsletters on LinkedIn. That's a whole other topic, but that's why you turn creator mode on. Now, there's a brand new feature that I only noticed yesterday. So I was training a client and I spotted it, which is really exciting. So I thought I'd talk about it today because it's, like I said, brand new, and it relates to creator mode. So when you do a search on LinkedIn, you're hitting the search box here, you're typing in some criteria, some keywords, and then you're applying filters. So one of the filters is people. You can also filter by company, by content, by jobs, all sorts of things. So you're doing a people search. If you click on all filters, there's a range of things you can apply. So as I said, you can search for the relationship. So if you're looking for people you've got someone in common with that meet criteria, hit second. You can search for connections of. So if I'm connected to Camille and I want to search within her network, does she know plumbers based in Sydney? Then I can do that. I don't know if you do, Camille, but I can do that. And this is where you can use your network. So if you're connected to someone who knows a lot of plumbers, then you can search for them through them. Now, this is a new feature, this one here, followers of. So in the last couple of weeks, if you've got creator mode turned on, as in you've got the follow button first and you're using the features, it now tells you when you go to their profile how many people in your network follow them. So not just connections in common, followers in common. So that was last week. And then just overnight yesterday, they added this followers of. So I can search for a creator's followers. So if I was to type in coaches or coach or business coach or something like that in the criteria here, and I've put some filters on. So I've got maybe a location. I'm selecting Adelaide, and I want to do people where we've got a connection in common. I can now search for a creator. So someone who's a thought leader that I've got access to. So Camille, if you say you've got creator mode turned on, I'm not connected to you, I can type your name in followers and find not your connections, but people who are following you. So going back to my profile, I've got 8,000 or so connections, 27,000 followers. It means you can search my following network now, which is much wider. If you're restricted to connections of, it's 8,000 people, followers, 27,000 people. So see what I mean? It's quite a powerful tool. It means you can check a bit more. Now, the other thing you can do, just because I was a bit nosy and curious, is you can, if you are a creator yourself, which I am, I've got creator mode turned on, I can search my own followers with some criteria now, which was impossible to do before. So I've got 27,000 followers, and it was really hard to find who those people were. But now I can look for, if I want to work with coaches, I can search for coaches in a particular location or an industry, and then select myself. So I'm looking for the people that follow me. Hopefully that makes sense. But have a play around with it yourself. Now to get to this sort of core search area, if you click into the search box and just click enter, it brings up a blank search. Then click people, then click all filters, and you'll get to see the options and have a look what's there. Now, when I run networking masterclasses, we go through and do a lot of examples, and I help the people who are attending get used to the search capabilities, because there's a lot more to search. Even with the free version, it's quite a powerful tool. So Camille's asking, how do you know if you've got creator mode turned on? Great question. So on your profile, actually, I'll show you. It's probably the best way to do it. Let me go here. So you should be seeing my profile. So if you go to your profile and scroll down under the resources section, creator mode here, it will either say on or off. So if I click onto it, that's where you can turn it on. You select some topics that you want to be known for, and then you've got these different tools here. So I can turn it on and off here. Now, what it does, just quickly, is that you saw there I had some topics I talk about. So you can add up to 5 topics. So LinkedIn, connection networking, Connectfluence, and content marketing. Now, those words show up here, talks about. So when you do a search on LinkedIn and you find people in the results that have talks about and these sort of terms here, that's when you know they've got creative mode turned on straight away. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me just go back to the slides. So in this example here, whoops, ahead, you'll see here Stephanie, it's got talks about mining, advisor, strategy, analytics. So I know she's got creative mode turned on. Plus the button next to her name is follow on the search results list. Whereas the person above them has connect. But as I said before, when you're sort of doing a search and you're connecting from this sort of search list, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend going to their profile and leaving that footprint behind. And also doing a bit of research, because you want to work out, well, you know, whether on this list where they are located, because it says going to their profile, they know you've looked at their profile. Because then you can find some rapport building things to say when you send them a message. Yeah, so I've just checking the comments here. So you don't notice you've got creative mode, lives and newsletters. So LinkedIn Live was rolled out a few years ago, and now anybody can have access to it, but you must have creative mode turned on. But as I said, if you turn on creative mode too early, you're missing an opportunity because it makes it difficult for people to connect to you. Now, it comes down to your networking style. If you're proactive, then it doesn't matter too much because you're doing the work, you're connecting to people. But if you're relying on people to connect to you, you've just now made it difficult for them because they've got to know to go to more and go to connect because the more button has connect hidden behind it. So depends on how you network. So if you're at that early stage, then wait. Now, as I said before, I just happened to go to Scott Morrison's profile yesterday. Interesting. He's lost his photo. I don't know what he's done since stepping down. He's either gone private, he's turned it off from public viewing, or he's removed his photo. I don't know why he's done that. But yes, I was just curious as to what he's done with his profile since changing roles. But if you go to his profile, I'm following him. Now, I've got Sales Navigator, so that's why it says viewing Sales Navigator. But it would, if with the standard, it would say following, or the button would be follow if you're not following him yet. I'm not promoting following him at all. I'm just curious what he's doing on LinkedIn, which is very similar to every other platform. So his team, I think, do a bit of copying and pasting. But someone like that, like I said, who you're following, if you go to more, connect is there. And so is unfollow. So if I get to a point where I'm not interested anymore, I would just go unfollow. So there you go. So that's where that all sits. Now, what does that mean in the feed in terms of content? Now, with the follow versus connect, now this is a piece of content that was in my feed from this person here. I'm not connected to. It's got second, so 2 degrees away from me. My connection, Rachel, commented on this update, which is why I saw it. Now, I could presume that Rachel is connected to this person or following this person. That's why she's seen it and commented. And you can see here the follow button is here. So if I hit follow in the feed, I become a subscriber to this person's updates, but I'm not a connection. I'll only become a connection if I go to their profile and hit the connect button if it's there up front, or I go more and connect. So then it's a two-way relationship. So like I said, it comes down to what you're trying to achieve. Steve Baxter, I'm not sure if you know, he used to be on Shark Tank, that TV show. He's quite interesting. So he's someone I'm following. So when I see his content in my feed, it says there next to his name, following. So it always tells you the relationship. They're either first, second, or third, or you'll see following. You never see this example here, second, I can follow, but once I hit follow, if I saw that person in my feed, it would say following. Hopefully that makes sense. So as I said, following, one-way relationship, connection, two-way. So if I was running events and I wanted to invite Steve, then I'd need to be connected to him in order to invite him. But if I'm just following him because I want to see what his update is, then there's nothing wrong with following. It depends on your relationship with the person. I don't know him from a bar of soap. I mean, I do from watching him on TV and seeing his videos and whatnot, but he doesn't know me. So, it might be a bit presumptuous to connect. There you go. Yes. So I'm just reading comments. Scott's, he's updating his photo with the open for opportunity circle. Nice one. Yeah. Actually, that sort of feature has gone away. So, yeah, unfortunate, because he really could have used that. So in terms of your network, what I said before, review your network. As I said, go to my network, look at your connections, and then have a look at who's already there. Now, if you want to look at who you're already following, because you might be thinking, well, who do I follow? Who's following me? All those areas. So you can see your connections here. People I follow, there's a number there. Now, these are people that you follow that you're not connected to. So there's 191 people that I don't have a direct relationship with. I'm purely following, and I can click on it and see who those people are and review them. Now, on your own profile, you'll see a number underneath. You've got connections and followers that show up here. Now, connections will always say publicly 500 plus. It doesn't reveal to the wider network what that connection number is, but it does show your follower number. Now, if you're not a content creator, as in, I'm not talking about creator mode here, just not a person that shares content, then your connections number and follower number is probably going to be very similar because you're not sort of promoting yourself as a creator of content. If you've turned on creator mode, then you're going to have a big difference between the number as you go, potentially. Now, anything blue on LinkedIn, you can click on. Now, my connections are not visible to other people, but obviously I'm looking at this from my own perspective. So I can click into connections and look at my connections, which will take me to the same area as this link here. Followers, if I click onto followers, I will get a list of my followers. But there's nowhere to search them. And this is the frustrating part. You get this long list. So this one to the right here are my followers. But with that new search ability, I can search my own followers with some criteria now. So do you see why I'm excited about it? Like, it's pretty cool. So of my 27,000 followers, I can now go in and search for who are the butchers in Sydney that are following me. So I can send them an invitation, connect to them and invite them to my LinkedIn workshop for butchers, because that's a thing, clearly. Or maybe it should be. Now, also in that area is, so you've got followers following. So if you click on following, this is any entity you are following. So by default, it's going to be companies, people that you're connected to, and people who are not in your network. Now, you'll notice in here, it's got filter by all. It is in the order of how often people post. So Microsoft post some ridiculous number of times a week, 523 posts per week. I rarely see them in my feed. LinkedIn posts 229 times a week. I see some of their stuff, but not too much. But if you look through the people, so this person, Murray, is the most noisy person in my network, we'll call him today. So he's posted 76 times in a week. This is not commenting, this is posting. Yeah, I can see it like, wow, why would you do that? And I rarely see him in my feed. Rob's got 35. So have a look at yours and just see who's the noisiest person in your feed. And notice, do you actually see them in your feed? Do you recall seeing their posts? And generally you don't, because just because someone's noisy doesn't mean they're getting a lot of attention. It's all about engagement and relevance. So the only person here I would see on a regular basis is Mike, because Mike I do engage with, and I'm actually part of his, I'm one of his sort of partners and ambassadors for his product, because I love his product. But everybody else I'm not seeing a great deal. Now, this is where you might decide to unfollow people, because if I find someone's really noisy, I'm not seeing their stuff, it might remind me that maybe I'm not interested in their stuff. So I would unfollow to make room for the good stuff. So yeah, have a look. But also, it's also shows what's not working, because if you were to look at some, and I don't know Murray that well, and I'm not sure what he's doing, I haven't looked at his content, but look at the people that come up at the top of your list, go to their activity and see how much engagement they're getting. There was a guy I was following, and he was posting something like 200 times a week at one point. And his posts, that was multiple times a day, and people weren't commenting or liking his stuff. So it was falling on deaf ears. So this is someone who will be using automation. So going back to the type of user you are, that would be someone who's an automator. And it's a waste of time. Yeah. So yeah, you said, a marketing coach says to post everything. No, post, once or twice a week is enough. Seriously. Quality over quantity, something thoughtful and meaningful to your audience. Don't post multiple times a day. Don't automate, because it's, unless you have taking a break, but you want to maintain, a presence potentially, but it just doesn't work. You're not going to get engagement. So yeah, so have a look at your people who you are following, and then use the little filter drop down here to go, if you want to look at your connections, people who are out of your network. So this is people that you're not connected to. Companies as well, because you might be following companies that you're not seeing anymore. And hashtags also come up here as well. And then look at your following too. So, followers. So this is where you can look at the most recent. So this, while followers is in the order of most recent, following is in the order of most noisy. That's how I like to describe it. So you can have a look there. Yeah. So this marketing coach's motto is to be successful, people need to see you. Yeah, absolutely. They need to see you, but there's better ways of being seen than spamming your network with content that's not relevant or interesting. And maybe it is. Maybe the content is interesting and relevant, but because there's too much of it, it's being ignored. Now, with LinkedIn's algorithm, there's been some evidence that if you post within 24 hours, like you post again, you're actually not giving the first post time to breathe. So the second post gets ignored. So if you've got a post that does pretty well and you post again within a few hours, it's going to get ignored. So don't do it. It's just not worth doing it because you're missing an opportunity. Right. So just to reiterate the LinkedIn network, and you might notice some of these characters. You might. I've been on a bit of a binge watch fest again. It's my go-to show if I just fancy watching something to chill out. So, you're doing a bit of searching here. So we've talked about the relationship, but why this is important now in terms of numbers is when people are searching for you or you're searching for them, this is where it comes to play. So if you've got a network of 50 people, you've got 50 first level connections, and everybody in that network has 50 connections, just to keep the math simple. And Jerry's one of the people you're connected to. And Jerry has 50 connections too, including George. That gives you access to 2,500 people at the second level because everybody's got 50 connections. Now, George has also got 50 connections, as has everybody at the second level, and George is connected to Elaine. That gives you access to 125,000 people. Sounds a lot, but it's not really when you're thinking about it. And in general, people don't all have the same number of connections. I'm just keeping it simple for the maths. Now, Elaine is connected to Kramer, but Kramer is now 4 degrees away from you. You can't find Kramer. I mean, you can find him if you know his name, but if these are all comedians, which they are, comedians, actors, if you're doing a search for actors, you're going to find everybody up until Elaine's level. Anybody outside of Elaine's level, you're not going to find in search. They're going to come up as LinkedIn member. Now, in reverse, if Kramer's sitting there and he needs your help, he needs a coach. So he searches for coach. He's going to find everybody up until Jerry. But you are not going to come up in his search list. I don't know if he needs a coach. Maybe he does. Probably does, for many reasons. But hopefully that makes sense. So it works two ways. So you want to be growing your first level connections of the relevant people to access people beyond. Now, if you want to have Kramer within your network, and your network is 3 degrees deep, if you connect to George, everybody moves in. So George becomes first, Elaine becomes second, Kramer becomes third. So now you've got access to Kramer and anybody on that level, and he's got access to you when he's searching. Making sense? So connecting to people at the second and third level brings them in closer, giving you access to their network. I had a brainwave the other day and decided to use Seinfeld because I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld lately rather than using my usual Bob, Barbara, Barry, and Betty. And I thought, I'm a bit over the bees. Let's go with someone a bit more exciting and out there. Yeah. So going back to search then, learning how to search is important. I'm not going to go into search now, but I just want to let you know that you've got 2 factors to search. You've got the keywords and phrases that you type into the search box at the very top. Then you've got the filters. And generally it's people you're looking for. And then you go to all filters and look through all the opportunities there. And the more specific you can be, the better, because you want a very short list of the right people. And then you want to repeat that for every different type of search you want to have. So if you want to learn more about search, I've got a networking and search masterclass coming up. So let me know if you want to know when that is, because I go into that in a lot of detail. But really think about, there's lots of different types of people you can connect to, but who are their roles in organizations that you want to connect to? What are they calling themselves? What industries? What locations? And come up with a bit of a short list. Who's your hottest 100 list? Triple J do it every year for their albums of music, of singles, I should say. But for yourself, who's your hottest 100 connections or ideal clients that you want to work with? And find them, and then map out a process to keep in touch with them, and then connect with conversation, not just connect and spam them. So with LinkedIn, I've created this model, Connectfluence, which is all about increasing your visibility, credibility, and influence. You could have an optimized profile, which is great. It's going to give you credibility. It's going to give you some visibility. And if you're just building a network of connections, then you're visible, but you're not necessarily credible if you haven't optimized your profile. But really what you want to do is build your profile, build your network, have a content strategy, and have an engagement strategy. Because as I said, posting a couple of times a week, high quality content is valuable, but what's also invaluable, it's hugely valuable, is engaging with your network and building relationships with them. And I go through that in the networking workshop. So Connectfluence is a made-up word that I came up with a couple of years ago, and it's the art of influence through connection, and it's the methodology behind everything I teach. So it really comes from my deep knowledge, my intense curiosity, because I'm a really nosy, curious person, I'm always pressing buttons, and my proven frameworks that I've come up with from all of that, which helps you build visibility, recognition and credibility and influence, which is what we're all after, which will give you the results. So I do have a program I've put together, which I call the Connectfluence Program, surprise, surprise, which runs over 6 months. And it's that way just so that you're building up some new habits. It's not overwhelming because there is a lot to do, but it's doing it consistently and building on it. So month 1 is the busy time. There's assessments, there's a strategy session, mentoring, there's masterclasses that roll out each month as well. And then through the months, there are continuing masterclasses. I'm doing like an online group Q&A sessions with a bit of co-working for people who need to put the time aside. Then the one-on-one mentoring, and then at the very end, there's another strategy session where we look through how you're performing, what's next. Some of the people I've worked with, I love this testimonial from Ian, because Ian is he's in sales. He's all about numbers, but really, working with me 2 weeks. 16 grand, 92% return on investment. So, that was good for him, but he's an implementer. Like, you've got to do the work. LinkedIn is like a gym. If you buy the gym membership, it's not going to get you fit. I've been there, done that. It didn't work. And I guess I see myself as, I'm like your personal trainer, your encourager, your supporter, your cheerleader, showing you how to use the equipment, keeping you on track, giving you a kick when you need it. That's my role. So if you need some help, let me know. So as I said, this is the program. This is how it works. They're all the bits and pieces in the Connectfluence program. That's the cost. And I've also got a sort of a light version, which I call the Ignition program, which is over 6 weeks. There's still this assessment and recommendation report. There's a strategy session, and then there's 2 follow-up sessions. So it's for people who just want a bit of a kickstart, or a pretty au fait with LinkedIn and just need that extra bit. And whichever one you choose to do, if you need to do one, if you've got a virtual assistant that works with you, or an assistant, any kind of assistant, they're very welcome to be involved, because I'm pretty passionate about getting VAs to use LinkedIn effectively, because there's too much bad automation and outsourcing going on. And that's why a lot of those practices come up, because, people are automating to VAs who are, know social media, but they don't know LinkedIn effectively, and they don't know LinkedIn for that person's brand. So, outsourcing and automation. Well, I'm not a fan of automation, apart from content scheduling, but outsourcing needs to be done with somebody who understands your brand, understands your voice. And if you haven't found your voice, you've got Camille here, who's got some great programs, who helps you find your content voice. So, but you can't just give it to a VA and expect them to know your voice. You've got to help frame that, and help them help you. So if you need any help, like I said, get in touch. If you want some more information about that program, let me know. I've got a brochure I can send you, but feel free to connect to me if we're not already connected. And if you've got any questions about this session, whether you're here live or you've watched the recording, get in touch. But as I said, poke around and look at search, and review your own network and just see who's missing. So I'd love to know, before we wrap up, because we're just on time, is what are you going to do as a result of this? Oh, thanks, Camille. And actually, look at Camille's profile, because Camille has one of the best profile videos. I mean, best in this, not best in this in the sense of production, but it's such a good video, because it shows that you don't have to get on camera to create a video. So yeah, awesome. Well done. Yeah. So you go turn on creator mode. Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, it's about knowing when to do it, when the timing's right. Yeah. And connect with your target market. Absolutely. And do it the right way. Because you're there to sell, but if you try and go in with the awkward salesiness, hi, I'm the number 1 coach. I can see you need coaching. I'll coach you. Buy my stuff. No. slow it down, look at their profile, learn a bit about them, look for things in common, look for that highlight section, which gives you a lot in common with someone, and compliment them, or, say something about them they can relate to. Look for, maybe you used to do something. Yeah, nurture that relationship, because at some point then it's sales conversation time, and that's a whole different scenario then. It's not a pitch fest. It's it's how can you actually find someone? Yeah, like I said, if you're here live, put your links in the chat if you'd like to connect. And if you need a connection with somebody, let me know. But yeah, Joe, definitely connect to Camille. Camille's awesome. Camille Blythe. Yeah, you should find her pretty easily. Brilliant. Any questions before I head off? And, in the chat, feel free to turn your mics on if you like now, if you've got anything you want to jump in and say or ask. Now's your time.
Joe, I've got to run, but thank you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Cool. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Camille.
Bye, everyone.
Any
questions? Anything?
It was really good, Joe. As always.
Thanks, Joe.
Fantastic. I'm learning so much. You know all about me. You know where I'm at. I'm not going to repeat anything in this room. It's a bit embarrassing. But yeah, no, I'm working on definitely becoming a lot more present within LinkedIn, because I really love it, and I mainly use it for like professional development and following people who are in the leadership space like I am. But what I've realized today is that, yes, I'm connecting with other leadership coaches, and also I'm in the mental health space, as you know, so I'm connecting with people in mental health space. But now I have to start connecting with my potential clients, not just the people who are doing what I'm doing, or people who are doing similar thing, or people whom I find interesting and informative and insightful. I need to look at, okay, actually, no, it's time to start looking at potential clients. So thank you.
Yeah, no problems. And I think, I was talking to someone yesterday, and they realized they were connected to their industry, and that was it. And they started a business, and they weren't connecting to people who were their actual potential clients. Yeah. Good. A good reason to connect. And then it's just being super helpful, or being just friendly and conversational, which I know you do really well, Joe. So that bit's probably the easy part.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no problems at all. All right, brilliant. So any other questions quickly, or we're all good? All good? Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for tuning in live. Really appreciate it. For those watching the recording, I hope you're still here. Well done for watching. But look out for other webinars. I've got very specific topics I'm rolling out, and I've got masterclasses coming up. So if that program's not for you, I do have, you can do just masterclasses that relate to the topic you want to learn about. So look out for all that. Thanks very much. And if we're not connected, send me a connection request. So I'd love to know what you're going to do as a result of watching this webinar. How are you going to build your network? And let me know if I can support you.